1956, May, Japan. It all started in the south of the land of the rising sun, in the city of Minamata. People began to complain about a previously unknown disease. Its symptoms were convulsions, speech impairment, and lameness. The inhabitants of Minamata did not understand what it was and panicked en masse. So did the local authorities and government. Scientists would later call this phenomenon Minamata Disease. But how it all began? Let's fast forward a few years. Chiso Corporation, a Japanese chemical company. This company had been producing acetaldehyde, a chemical used in the production of acetic acid, rubber, and perfumery since the 1930s. You may think, well done, Chiso, develop the region's economy. This is all very nice, but there is one but. Chiso discharged its waste into Minamata Bay, resulting in widespread mercury contamination of the local seafood and water supply. This contamination led to the outbreak of Minamata Disease, a neurological disorder caused by mercury poisoning that affected thousands of people in and around Minamata. However, maybe they didn't know about such an effect which their waste can have, and we shouldn't blame Chiso? Maybe, if not the thing that Chiso Corporation was aware of the potential dangers of its waste. We can see it from the fact that in the 1950s, researchers from Chiso Corporation's own laboratory found that cats that had been fed fish from Minamata Bay were suffering from neurological symptoms similar to those seen in humans with Minamata disease. But it continued to discharge it into the bay for years, even after it became clear that local residents were suffering from mercury poisoning. The company's negligence in addressing the issue and failure to take action to protect the health of its workers and the local population were major contributing factors to the disaster. In addition to the Chiso Corporation, the Japanese government and local authorities were also criticized for their handling of the Minamata disaster. Despite being aware of the situation, the government and local authorities took few measures to address the contamination or protect the public's health. For example, in the 1960s, the government conducted its own investigation into the situation in Minamata, and it received reports from local doctors and researchers about the high incidence of Minamata disease in the area. However, the government did not take any meaningful action to address the contamination or protect public health until the late 1960s, when the severity of the situation became widely known and public outcry grew. Additionally, in 1968, an official from the Ministry of International Trade and Industry wrote in a memo that the elimination of mercury contamination in Minamata would require an enormous investment and it would be difficult to find ways to finance such a project. This was partly due to the economic importance of the Chiso Corporation to the local economy. By the 1950s and 1960s, one of Japan's largest chemical companies, with factories and facilities throughout the country, as well as a general lack of understanding of the dangers of industrial pollution and its potential effects on human health. Okay, it is clear with causes, but just why are we talking about this disaster? Why am I making a video exactly on Minamata disease? What important consequences it had? The Minamata disaster had its most significant impact on the health condition of the people, as the problem initially was in the disease. Symptoms of this Minamata disease can include numbness, tremors, muscle weakness, hearing and vision loss, difficulty walking, and cognitive impairment. In severe cases, the disease can lead to paralysis, coma, and death. What is worse, many individuals who were exposed to mercury in Minamata also developed other health problems such as skin rashes, chronic fatigue, and headaches. And how many of the Minamata citizens were affected by the mercury poisoning? According to the Ministry of the Environment of Japan, there were more than 2,955 cases of the Minamata disease reported in Japan between 1956 and 2001. That is not a small number, reckoning that under these numbers we mean the real people. So the Minamata disease led to the human losses among the Japanese population and undermined their health. Apart from the health factor, the Minamata disaster resulted in the economic crisis. Region's main industries, fishing and agriculture, were affected by the mercury poisoning, which brought the city down. Minamata was once a thriving industrial city of more than 50,000. Today, most industries have disappeared and the population has shrunk to less than 30,000, mostly older people. Young people are leaving Minamata as there are no prospects. The contamination of the local environment also had an impact on agriculture in the region. Many crops and livestock raised in the area were contaminated with mercury and were not safe to consume, leading to a loss of income for many farmers. In addition to the economic impact on specific industries, many families who were affected by the disease faced financial hardship due to the cost of medical treatment and care. To sum up, we can see that the Minamata disaster has led the region into the crisis, damaging its most important spheres. After the Minamata disaster, the public and all the countries throughout the world were shocked by the scale which this violation of the rules has taken. They understood the importance of environmental regulations in order to avoid such situations in the future. So the governments made efforts towards this. In 2004, the United Nations Environment Programme held the Stockholm Convention on Persistent Organic Pollutants, which aimed to limit the production and use of hazardous chemicals worldwide. Then, in 2013, the Minamata Convention on Mercury was adopted by the United Nations Environment Programme. The convention aims to protect human health and the environment from the harmful effects of mercury by limiting its production and use, reducing emissions and releases, and promoting safe alternatives. So we can conclude that the Minamata disaster led to a fundamental shift in environmental international policy. So concluding the video, Minamata disaster is a very important event in the history of human environmental pollution, which has led to the deaths of the people and the changes in environmental policies of the countries all throughout the world. That is all you should know about Minamata disaster. Thank you for watching this video. Goodbye.